Hello everyone, Duzol Pharma, a multi-vendor on-demand pharmacy platform, e-commerce of sorts. But someone could ask, why Duzol Pharma? So two things. Africa is undergoing rapidly through a shift, and it calls for two things. On the customer side, you're seeing a population that is valuing more of its time, seeing more of a working population that is doing more remote work, like stay at home, but they value their time at most. However, what does that call for? There are two types of consumers that they're calling for. There's a particular sect of the consumer group that really values time and they really want a product they trust. So they want something that is swift and easy. However, because of the increased life expectancy also in the continent, you're seeing a lot of the aging population that really can't now basically needs on-demand medicine but can't keep making those trips. Because back in the day, it's the children and all these people who used to make the trips. Right now, many of these people live alone, fend for themselves. So they can't afford to make those back and forth trips. On the supply side, you're seeing in Africa a lot of small vendor stores coming up. But the problem is scaling. It's very difficult for these small stores, for these small pharmaceutical businesses to scale at the pace or the speed at which the demand desires. So in ideal sense, in the ideal current context, you're seeing pharmaceutical companies, when they establish a market opportunity, they will have to set up a physical store, basically take up the entire cost on transportation, distribution, getting the products from the manufacturers or the wholesalers, but also for sometimes increased sales, taking up the last mile distribution cost. That means taking up the delivery cost. And sometimes this is a lot for small business. It takes up a lot of operational costs. It increases the risk of the business. And basically, they don't really have a lot of capital to scale out eventually. So however much they see market potential in another region, in another district, in another locality, it's very difficult for these businesses to scale. And basically, this is where Duzol Pharma comes in. Duzol Pharma solves two things. It basically solves business inefficiencies around the distribution chain, but also solves the time issue, convenience. So let's start with the consumer side of things. So for the consumer, that young working consumer, that middle-aged, old-aged population that can't move, basically the online delivery service will save travel costs. So the customers, rather than physically visiting these brick and mortar stores, looking and wasting an hour or two looking for the right product, they can basically, by the swipe of a finger, get their product and have it delivered to their doorstep. On the vendor side, in most cases, vendors are small businesses. Sometimes they don't have a really robust and good product catalog. So that means whenever you have customers coming by your small shop and then they don't find that particular product and move to the next, your customer or client retention is very difficult or low. That means clients, there's a high likelihood when a client leaves you and goes to the next shop, they never come back. You lose that person. However, with this platform, that puts everyone in one pool. That puts vendors in one pool. Vendors can come together. These small stores can come together and join this platform, come up with a better, robust, wide product catalog. So with the ease of swiping, you keep retaining customers who could come and buy from you better. So you retain more clients, you retain more customers. But that means because of these increased leads, these increased reviews, you also get new leads with ease. So you can tap into new market areas without physically setting up infrastructure there, without physically setting up a store. And basically, with the data, with the reports that this platform provides, you can gauge, is it time right now to scale physically there and invest in infrastructure, or basically we can still use these models and work efficiently. So how many developers are really going to work on this? It's basically one person. So this is a product that was inspired by a UX designer, and basically what I'll be doing is developing the backend service. So I'm Raymond Lukwago, by the way, and I'm a dedicated engineer. and a data engineering enthusiast who's really passionate about really technology and basically trying to improve transparency and connecting a lot of this business together to solve real world problems. So this project is more of a learning journey for me. It basically concludes my learning journey for over the past year. And some of the things I basically will be focusing on for this project will be one, the user management area. So you have a lot of users. So it will be role-based management authorization in there that I'll be really focusing on. Authentication using JWT tokens, and also basically the normal things around user registration, user logging out, and all these things. Secondly, data validation with NoSQL databases. In a case in point, MongoDB. But also, most importantly, I'm more fascinated about working really and handling geospatial data. So it's something in the past I've been fascinated about as a person that has been using a lot of QGIS. And lastly, quick deployment, automated deployment, basically understanding deployment pipelines with Docker containers of Node.js projects, but also their management. If you will this time, also the management of these small Docker projects that have come up with in Kubernetes. So some of the envisaged features, I'll start on the opposite ends. We have a rider delivery service on one end, basically to improve courier services and delivery services for the customers, but also for the riders, because we shall have a lot of third-party riders joining as an extra bag. They join, you have a lot of border people, you have a lot of tuk-tuk people that provide normal faring of people to place, but they can take this up as a side gig. So the rider service basically helps with the quick onboarding, but also helps them go about their work easily. So we also have the admin side basically that does the overall onboarding, registration, authentication, providing vendor analytics reports, review management, and in between you have the customer service and the vendor store services. So the vendor store services basically enables local vendors, owners basically to register, have a vendor profile, have a product catalog that they can manage. That means put in new products, remove these that you don't have in your inventory, have payment information delivered in case a payment has been closed, order notifications in case there's an order for your store to handle. On the customer side, basically what you're trying to do is solve and ease this whole process. That means you're going to have ease in product ordering, ease in product searching, and all these things, order tracking, to since medicine is a very sensitive area, so you really want to improve trust that the person's product is really coming to them. It's not basically taking in other turns. So some of the key core technologies and architectures we're using for this project, simply, since we're doing really an MVP, really understand how this product is going to really work out, we're starting with a monolithic software architecture. So what you have on here is a basic monolithic architecture. It has three main resources that we shall be really working with. We'll start the customer, the vendor product, and the shopping side. So we have a couple of things there. We have the user management, signing up, the wish list, address, and a couple of other things. On the shopping side, we have the cart, orders, and payment. So the key core technologies we're basically going to be using here is TypeScript. While TypeScript, it's basically type annotation, really nice. We have for managing our web infrastructure, putting it all together, we're going to use Express Web Framework to basically develop these endpoint resources. And also at the end of the day, we're going to use Docker containers to have and package this entire container so it can really be shipped and easily be transferred to different OS systems without ease. So lastly, we shall be also doing a lot of unit tests and integrated testing. We shall use Mocha and also its other tools that we use like Chai and all these things. Some third-party services that we shall be using for this is one, we're going to implement user authentication using third-party authentication like SMS, codes, and here we shall be using Twilio. So we're not doing everything from scratch. And for app deployment and hosting, we're going to be using Render. It's a free service. So some timelines for this project is I built a Twilio board. Some things I've really gone through. Fortunately, we've done some and completed some tasks. Some tasks are in progress, as you see from the development of the backend data models. It's something in progress and hope to be doing by July. We have the unit tests by 8th, and also the development of the endpoints by around 5th. That's next week. So to have a full picture of the project schedules and timelines, you could access this by clicking the link below, and it's really accessible to the public. So some key project challenges envisaged. Any project has really challenges, and something we learned from the onset is first, our product is going to have service unreliabilities in case of a failure of really one component. Like you saw from the architecture, the little bit of things that are really connecting here and there. So one component really goes down, it could really affect other components that are basically coupled together or basically listening to it. So that's basically a service that is unreliable, and really that's one challenge we have. The next challenge we have is scaling of this infrastructure in cases of demand and also in cases of additional services. So it's going to really force you to scale horizontally sometimes, which is cost ineffective. You have to buy more servers and all these things. Sometimes really cost ineffective and all these things. So another thing is, in case where you are scaling, you have scaled, the product is big, and you want to now onboard new human resource, or you want to distribute load between the teams. It's very difficult to basically do this in this type of architecture, because a new human resource, maybe a developer coming on, will have to basically understand the whole stack for them to provide value. That would take months, it would take weeks, yet you just want someone to basically focus on providing value in a small niche. So this particular monolithic architecture has that. There are a couple of things that we shall do if we have really time. The plan was to change into a microservice. However, if we have time, we'll do that. If we don't, this is an MVP basically to solve if the core solutions that we envisage are really working. So we have some product mockups, and like I said, this project was initially inspired by Iram Mola. Iram Mola is basically a remarkable UX UI project designer, and you can basically check up his profile there and hit him up. So some of the things we shall be really working on is we have a user profile feature there, and basically to provide some examples, say on order history can be attached to the customer's profile, and a couple of other things. So on the back end, what we shall be basically first supporting is more of user registration resources, logging out resources that can be also incorporated with ease on the front end by any person that would jump onto this and basically try to join the project, and also support on the front end features. So this is a basic wireframe of what the idea is for the app. This is the mobile app version, but basically it's also something, the UI design one doesn't really change a lot for the web application. So it's something, our project will focus on building a robust backend service, and if we really have time in the future, we can basically try out and play around with the front end too. Thank you very much for joining me today, and if you have any questions, you can really hit me up on email or hit me up on Twitter. Thank you very much, and see you on the other end.